Thank you for attending Nexenta's webinar, Hosting plus Cloud Strategies equals Software-Defined Data Center Disruption. We're doing this webinar today in association with 451 Research's Hosting and Cloud Transformation Summit, which is going on right now in Las Vegas. I'm happy to introduce you to a great group of panelists. First, we have Tarkan Maynard, Nexenta's Chairman and CEO, Chris Orlando, ScaleMatrix Co-Founder and Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, Ganesh Padmanabhan, Dell Technologies VP of Worldwide Enterprise Solutions, and Al Sadowski, Research Vice President at 451 Research. Al works in the infrastructure services area of 451, which includes storage, networking hardware, and systems and software infrastructure. He covers the buying behaviors of service providers for these technologies. It's my pleasure to now hand over the virtual mic over to Al.
So what I'm going to go through with my time here is talk about some of these digital transformation drivers that we're tracking, talk about cloud adoption trends, again, mainly leveraging some of that demand side research that we have, talk about IT buying behaviors as far as wallet share, and then finally leave you with some opportunities for the service providers on the call of what you can do or what you should be focused on. So this picture is probably not unfamiliar. You've either seen this or you participated in this, and you see everybody on their phones, Twitter, Facebook, live streaming, you name it. But if you look closely, there's this nice old lady with very stylish glasses on here who's taking it all in old school, has not been swept up into this digital revolution yet. And this digital revolution is not just taking place on the consumer side, it's happening to business, and it's uneven. The level of spend is different across. This nice old lady represents kind of some of the more conservative businesses out there. But this revolution, cloud is underpinning all of this. So just to level set what we are talking about here as far as what is cloud, there's three different kind of groupings that we use. So if you think about like the hyperscale cloud where AWS dominates and others are playing, this is a platform, a lot of DIY use, API-driven, developer-focused infrastructure. The traditional public cloud where Rackspace and SoftLayer and others play, it's on-demand compute and storage, but low touch, no touch services. And then hybrid and private, which you'll hear a lot about today. Same kind of resources, but very managed services, heavy high touch services. So when we talk about cloud, it's really these three different types of clouds. One of the things that 451 does is track the overall size of the market. We get bottoms-up estimates from a number of providers, and for infrastructure as a service, we expect that market to be about a $20 billion business by 2019. Half of that revenue is Amazon Web Services, and the next 204 providers that we track has about the same amount of revenue. Now, what's driving this? Again, from the enterprise perspective, why cloud, why now? So there's some economic motivations for enterprises. They're obviously trying to reduce costs is a big part of it. Trying to eliminate this ongoing maintenance nightmare and upgrade processes and support requirements around their old legacy hardware and software platforms. And they want to do it with less people, adding automation and other capabilities. You can do the same amount, if not more, with less resources. And there's this enterprise shift from capital spend to OpEx spend, moving towards subscription-based pricing models and being able to get out of a contract when you want versus being locked into a solution. There's also transformational change that businesses are trying to undertake as well and looking to cloud to support that. Obviously, cloud, you move a lot faster. You can develop and deploy and scale up apps and services quickly, efficiently, cookie cutter, repeatable kinds of capabilities. Also, you raised it, what we talk about raising the standard of service delivery.
So they still didn't
An
say
IT
it right,
shop,
did they?
you know, it could take
I think
months
you said
to
Panabin.
deploy hardware for an application developer to get started, and now
Panabin is what I said.
Same request can happen in minutes. A lot more
Panabin.
services from enterprises are being delivered as a service or e-services
That is
via
so
an app or
awkward.
iPad or website. Again, looking
Okay,
to
we'll
find
try one more time. But you can like, if
in the
that
cloud
one was
also,
better than. I gotta say
creates
his
this,
name right
environment
though.
where there's a lot more innovation happening as well. So just as an example, the CEO of Royal Bank of Scotland said that our busiest branch is the 701 from Reddington to Paddington. It's no longer about bricks and mortar banks anymore.
I've written this
support
3 times, but
customers that may be on a train on the way to work.
Manabin. Okay.
So all of this creates this new competitive framework. So you see the rise of non-traditional competitors. You name the
Thank you for attending Nexenta's webinar, Hosting plus Cloud Strategies equals Software-Defined Data Center Disruption. We're doing this webinar today in association with 451 Research's Hosting and Cloud Transformation Summit, which is going on right now in Las Vegas. I'm happy to introduce you to a great group of panelists. First, we have Tarkan Maynard, Nexenta's Chairman and CEO. Chris Orlando, Scale Matrix co-founder and Chief Sales and Marketing Officer. Ganesh Kudmanabhan, Dell Technologies VP of Worldwide Enterprise Solutions. And Al Sadowski, Research Vice President at 451 Research. Al works in the Infrastructure Services area of 451, which includes storage, networking hardware, and systems and software infrastructure. He covers the buying behaviors of service providers for these technologies. It's my pleasure to now hand over the virtual mic over to Al.
Product development, product placement, and things like that. And what's underpinning all of this is the software-defined data center, which you're going to hear a lot about today from the speakers. Now, this framework has implications, obviously, for storage. You know, the old style storage, it was a hardware purchase. It sat on premise. Every application, every business unit had their own sideload storage piece, very disk focused, and everybody had tape for backup. And now with the new style of storage, you see going from hardware to now be software defined. And instead of on-premise storage, you see a lot more cloud storage and storage as a service offerings from service providers, integrated infrastructure separate instead of just a separate server deployment. All flash is gaining a lot of traction alongside of disk, and then instead of tape, things are backed up in the cloud now. And so, as far as software-defined storage is concerned, there are some key value props that come along with that. First and foremost, cost savings. The pay-as-you-go model is very enticing to folks, and you can leverage just standard hardware to make your solution work. There's the opportunity for greater, faster innovation. You don't have to forklift upgrade a storage infrastructure. Things happen with software now. And object storage is starting to gain more traction. There's no clear market leader yet, but there's a lot happening with the object storage space that software-defined storage is handling. And then management savings is the third major pillar here. A lot of the life cycle is now automated, and you spend a lot more time worrying about maintenance with a software-defined solution. So that kind of set the stage as like high-level digital transformation drivers. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the cloud adoption trends that we're seeing. And here is where I'll be focusing a lot on that voice of the enterprise data. So when we asked enterprises where they were deploying workloads, these responses came from those enterprises that are familiar with cloud, are using cloud. Still, 59% of their apps are not in the cloud. 41% are across SaaS, infrastructure as a service, and then either on-prem or a hosted private cloud environment. But over the next 2 years, we're going to see a significant change where 60% of applications are now going to be cloud-based rather than non-cloud. So there's this clear momentum towards cloud. Now, this is the same sizing chart that I showed you before, but now what I wanted to show was, as big as infrastructure as a service is, it's still 1/6 the size of the overall hosting and IT market. So dedicated, shared, and managed hosting are still significant. Managed hosting still growing double digits, still a very important play in the overall cloud and IT space for enterprises. And when we talk about that journey to the cloud and ask enterprises where they are on the journey, may be surprising to some, but the majority of enterprises are still trying to figure out virtualization, trying to figure out automation before they can get to be able to orchestrate or truly running a private cloud. And what's interesting is the reason why they can't get to the next phase is typically not a technology problem. Typically the issue are non-IT roadblocks, so they don't have the budget, they don't have the resources, the skilled resources. It might be an IT manager who may be fearing that he's going to put himself and his team out of a job, so there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. As far as IT roadblocks, it was the minority of the reasons. But when we do ask what the two biggest pain points are that are IT related, impacting your ability to get to the next phase, so getting from orchestration to a private cloud, for example, these were the top reasons. So either moderate or significant impacts across all of these dimensions. Security, probably not a surprise that 85% of the respondents thought security was their biggest issue. But all of these are top of mind now for enterprises. Compliance and regulation, where they're able to, for industry-specific solutions, making sure they're compliant, making sure they know where their data is, and regulatory issues around data locality and sovereignty, especially in Europe and Asian markets. Budget and cost is still a important thing, as well as, okay, now that you have this environment, how do I migrate? How do I do change management? How do I make sure I have the right resources to be able to handle this? These are all capabilities and issues that can be addressed with the cloud and with software-defined data center strategy. Now, there was a bunch of different venues that enterprises are considering, and when we asked them what were, as far as a business case was concerned, how did you pick like the top factors for business case? So for an on-prem private cloud, when they were building those, the enterprises feel that that's their most secure solution. It's also the one that they feel would have the most availability and uptime. And hardware cost savings was another reason that they were drawn to a private cloud on-premise. In a hosted private model, so the same solution but hosted, cost savings from hardware was also mentioned, but they don't want to manage this infrastructure themselves. And now with this type of solution, they're able to scale for peak demand issues. For infrastructure as a service, the scalability factors in again, the hardware savings, but the big thing for infrastructure services is speed to market. You can basically go on with a credit card, swipe, and be up and running in a matter of time. Hosted private cloud, a lot more paperwork and contracts involved. Software as a service was the fourth model. Folks don't want to manage internally. They don't want their staff to have to manage something, and they get new functionality a lot faster. So these were the dimensions for that. So then the next piece of this is the IT spending plan. So if you look at this overall IT spending for an enterprise, a third is labor costs, a third is server storage and networking. These are areas that enterprises are looking to save money. Cloud services is almost 7% of that number. And just a couple other highlights about IT budgets. 47% of all the respondents have budgets of over $5 million. So these are not small IT shops. And 64% of them are going to increase their IT budgets in 2016. And 54% have grown their cloud services budget as well. And as far as the areas for that IT services budget, they are looking at security and application hosting and managed services as taking up a bigger portion of that hosting and cloud services. 70% is more than just compute and storage nowadays, and 2 years it's the same. Now, as far as if you double-clicked into those areas, so as the kinds of managed services they're looking for, backup and recovery, DR, application development platforms. They want to be able to be more agile, as that digital revolution talk earlier was suggesting. As far as application hosting, the types of applications they're looking for, databases and email, business apps, things that still require a lot of storage requirements. And then there's security services, so not only security of the endpoints, but also the data either in motion or at rest, and then ways just to keep the bad guys out are all services that IT shops are looking to outsource. And as far as the types of projects that they're looking to do over the next 12 months, software as a service was a big piece. Cloud storage actually shows up. 36% of the a little over 1,000 respondents said that one of their top cloud computing related projects is going to be cloud storage. Now, another trend with enterprises is IoT, and we asked them what kinds of initiatives they have going with IoT. 41% already have something planned, and the rest all seem to have some sort of need. A lot of it is machine-to-machine discussions, but starting to see more analytics happening as part of that. And some of those IoT drivers, the costs are coming down, so more people are getting interested in what IoT can help their business transform, both on the edge and the bandwidth requirements for that. The tools around IoT are getting better across the cloud and the middleware and analytics, all the different components of IoT. And then market forces in general. The government has mandates. There's a lot more competition around IoT as well. And then I'll leave you with some of the service provider opportunities at this point. So this list represents the top 10 infrastructure providers in terms of revenue. What's interesting to note is that 4 of the top 10 are telcos. That number is actually down. It used to be 2 years ago, it was 6 of the top 10, now 4. But this top 10 only represents about 1/3 of the overall revenue. We like to say that the opportunity is in the long tail, and these are kind of the organizations that are fighting for that enterprise dollar. So there's a group of managed service providers, whether they're doing it themselves or on top of others' services. There's the hyperscale vendors, which we pointed out earlier, led by AWS, but there's a number of properties that are all trying to get a piece of that business. And then the SIs, the system integrators, are also looking to bring to market application transformation and application modernization capabilities, and then building the managed services on top of that. But the interesting player here is also the colo providers. So not only are they providing space and power to all of these different constituents, but now they're getting increasingly involved themselves in providing all of these services too. And when they ask as far as which are the qualities that are important when picking a vendor, if a service provider that you're talking to, or if you're a service provider and you're not talking in terms of how secure you are or how reliable and trustworthy, the technical expertise that you bring to the table, these are all capabilities that enterprises are looking for in a provider, all the way down to even knowing about my business and my specific applications. So to kind of summarize the opportunity for the service providers, you need to be able to support these different cloud types. So whether it's on-prem or hosted or in a hyperscale, finding ways to provide that orchestration and management across, and the visibility for enterprises across all of that. Being able to move into more managed services and managed security and application hosting more than just compute and storage. And then increasing your software IQ. So again, it's not just about a hardware play anymore, but understanding the enterprise's workloads, understanding how they do their business, being a trusted advisor, providing support for different business processes, including what I mentioned before with IoT. And then finally, this need to adopt new technologies, being aware and being able to help an enterprise take their application and make it cloud ready, helping them transform their business, not just offering a technology solution, and getting more software-defined data center capabilities into your environment is going to help you help them. So with that, I will turn it over back to Tarkan.
Al, this is pretty powerful. I mean, I cannot imagine any other slide set for a layup for Chris to come in and talk about overall scale matrix vision and execution in the space. Obviously, everything you talked about is near and dear to our hearts, and obviously to the trends we're seeing from our customer base. A little bit of context before Chris, picks the ball and runs with it. As the lead hosting services company, with all these things in mind that Al talked about from 451. Again, I appreciate the fact that all the stuff that we talked about, quantitative and qualitative, are primarily research-based, directly from the customers. A couple of things that you mentioned about, the importance of virtualization, the security, and the integration of all the layers in harmony from applications to obviously infrastructure from a storage, compute, and networking perspective, and building a seamless, transparent infrastructure layering group which delivers the best service level agreements to the customers. Obviously, at the end of the day, as small, medium businesses are moving increasingly to cloud services, one key question is, where do the vendors stand? Where do the vendors stand in this new world of hosting services? Because many vendors see this as a competition in the IT space, but not Dell and obviously not Nexenta. We're partnering with companies like Scale Matrix based on everything Al talked about and all the trends. I think, in a way, works for Chris's and Scale Matrix's vision. And those trends prove one more time why Scale Matrix is gaining so much popularity in the things that they're working on. So on that note, with no further ado, let me turn the virtual microphone to Chris Orlando, the founder of Scale Matrix, the co-founder of Scale Matrix, and also runs operations for Scale Matrix. And I know Allison is moving the slides for Chris, as Chris is in Las Vegas working with 451 and presenting there and meeting a bunch of folks there. So Chris, thank you for joining us on your busy schedule. I know you've been crazy busy expanding your business into other parts of the country. So Chris, the microphone is yours, and we'd love to hear your next phase of your growth of Scale Matrix.
Thanks, Tarkan. I appreciate it, and thanks everyone on the call for the opportunity. We hope to share our viewpoint from a hosting provider perspective today. As you mentioned, we are long-term clients and partners of Nexenta, long-term partners and clients of the folks at Dell, including being one of the handful of elite service providers who are part of their cloud delivery strategy. And we are long-term partners of the folks at 451. And it's great to follow Al because it really validates some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today from the service provider perspective, both things that we have on our roadmap as a growing organization, as well as the things that we're hearing from clients who are sitting across the table from us every day. For those who are unfamiliar with our organization, I'll share just a little bit about Scale Matrix, who we are, what we do, and how our software-defined data center strategy has helped us be disruptive in the space in which we play. Today, Scale Matrix is categorized as a hybrid service provider, meaning we span traditional co-location, cloud hosting, managed services, and as everyone's kind of pointed out so far in this call, a larger and growing trend is both on-premise services as well under a single umbrella. We are a bit unique in that we own and operate our own data centers, and while that in itself is not a differentiator, we leverage some very proprietary data center platforms which help us deliver extremely high density at the rack level. And that's a growing trend that I think everybody sees in the marketplace today as servers and infrastructure get more powerful and demand more from its compute resources. Our ability to deliver that density in an extremely effective way helps us deliver the different services that we have in our portfolio at a very cost-effective manner, which is extremely helpful given the fierce competition from both the hyperscale providers and the rest of the folks in our competitive landscape. A bit more detail about the Scale Matrix service catalog and our business. Obviously, you can see from the slide, we play in the high-density co-location space. We have a vast catalog of cloud services which span multi-tenant, private infrastructure as a service. and what I think Al referred to as nuanced services as we get into things that are somewhat unique as high-performance computing as a service, et cetera. We support more than 400 enterprise clients across the nation today. And as you saw in the previous slide, we operate 2 distinct data centers here in North America as our availability zones today, and are focused on expanding that footprint to between 4 and 6 additional facilities over the next 18 months. Our business was founded in 2011 after the successful sale of a previous data center property. And what's great about that is that we consider ourselves to have been born in the cloud era. And that's given us a lot of opportunity that I don't know that everyone carries. The first benefit we've seen from that is that we're not carrying around a lot of legacy baggage, which I know older and more established service providers continue to be saddled with. And 2, we've had the opportunity to evaluate a lot of new technologies as we launched this new brand. And we got to think very long and hard about a software-defined data center framework that would help us be agile enough to ebb and flow with the changing requirements of our enterprise customers today. To be direct, we selected Nexenta's software-defined storage platform back in 2013, which I believe put us clearly in the early adopter category. And after 3 years of operating those platforms in a number of capacities, the decision to go software-defined has served us extremely well, both from our file and block storage requirements, as well as object storage services from a highly scalable and cost-effective perspective that's now becoming a larger and larger piece of our overall service offering. As you can see on this slide, I've highlighted a couple of the offers in bold, all of which are dependent upon our software-defined storage capabilities. While colocation clients are more and more turning to service providers as as legacy block and file platforms start to age out, an entire new segment of clients revolving around our object storage offers as big data, analytics, and high-performance computing push clients to do more and more with the data that they're creating. In this image here, we show that as storage and hosted offers expand and cloud offerings become more prevalent, we believe that delivering enterprise IT has the potential to become slightly more complex as users choose to place workloads in a variety of different locations with a variety of different providers. To help simplify this, ScaleMatrix's software-defined data center strategy allows us to bring a variety of offers to our customers under a single umbrella, which we hope helps deliver greater cross-workload visibility, helps increase the client's buying power, and it overall reduces the complexity of delivering these multi-workload solutions. As you can see, we put this slide up not simply just to toot our horn, but to show that a successfully executed strategy that includes software-defined capabilities can really have an impact on a business. And you can build the greatest products in the world today, but if the enterprises on the other side of the table don't see value in them, they're not going to adopt them. And we've been extremely fortunate in the first couple of years that we've been open to show some extremely rapid growth since the 2011 launch of our business. We landed on the Inc. 500 list in our 3rd year of operation, and a lot of that growth has come from storage-related products and offerings that are all software-defined. For service providers, delivering high-quality storage services can be simplified and operationally improved by adopting a software-defined strategy. Both from a cost of delivery, an overhead, and a management perspective, we've been able to deliver a variety of services while maintaining a good balance of cost to value ratios for the clients that subscribe to our services. It's no secret we've seen a number of cloud hosts, including cloud storage companies, come and go over the last couple of years. And we believe that by taking a software-defined approach from the beginning, that's significantly helped ScaleMatrix maintain a competitive advantage in delivering these services over the last couple of years. And you can see from the slide, there's obviously been a lot of growth as a result of that. Certainly, the industries and verticals which a service provider focuses on has an impact on the importance and growth of their storage portfolio. ScaleMatrix's headquarters is located in San Diego, and our secondary facility is in Houston, Texas. And our client base in the first location is very heavy in both life sciences, bioinformatic, and technology. While in the central U.S., our facility sits in the middle of the energy corridor, where we support a number of geophysical research firms, big data, and healthcare organizations. In looking forward, the increase in enterprise data management, we believe, is only going to grow, and we're seeing a tremendous need from customers in a variety of different verticals, as you've seen on this slide, for better and improved data management strategies. From our perspective, the information on this slide are kind of the core drivers as a service provider that we're seeing that's causing the exponential scale-out growth of both storage and data center services. In the image, we see IoT-driven workloads, the proliferation of mobile devices, file storage, music, messaging. All these things are driving, an exponential increase in not just standard storage capabilities, but the ability to better manage and work with the data once it's been captured. Big data, data retention, analytics, high-performance computing, all driving customers in this direction. And we believe that delivering on more common use cases like backup, DR, governance, and business intelligence has become easier for us as a service provider as a result of our software-defined strategy. From a service provider perspective, we believe there's great potential in providing storage as a service. And for clients, the economies of scale of working with a service provider as opposed to trying to build it on your own obviously has some significant benefits. Further, we look at the different workloads that customers are bringing to us: early stage development, production application hosting, and then business continuity and backup services. The importance of delivering those in a highly scalable, highly flexible, and cost-effective way is becoming more and more crucial, and is highly scrutinized by customers looking to service provider to deliver those things. Lastly, expanding our view beyond just simple cloud and data center workloads has created even more opportunity for us as a customer, or as a company and a service provider. ScaleMatrix has recently begun offering both on-premise storage solutions in an effort to provide our clients with a truly holistic storage managed strategy that spans both in data center, in cloud, and on-premise workloads. We truly believe that being early adopters of this software-defined strategy has helped us be disruptive in the space in which we play. And we believe that by delivering these things through a software-defined architecture, that both the service providers and clients can benefit significantly. You see here a number of the things that we're seeing drive the adoption and the benefits across these different workloads. Time to market, scalability, improved TCO, reduce overhead and complexity, and reduce management costs, all things that I believe Al highlighted in his kind of view of where things are headed. We're certainly capitalizing on those things and providing a great value opportunity for our customer by using these services today. That's kind of our take on the industry in a nutshell. I appreciate the time and being able to share our thoughts with you guys. And Tarkan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Chris, thank you. This was perfect. Just to transition to Ganesh before we finish Chris's section on service providers. When I joined Nexenta about 3 years ago, and we built this amazing business around software-defined storage, the first question from investors and customers were to me and to our management team, hey, how are you going to create a cloud service and go after cloud service business, because you guys have an amazing software-defined storage vision, software only, very low cost, supports all these different protocols and systems, super VMware virtualization friendly, while it is still perfect platform for OpenStack and Docker. You guys should build your own service provider business and go after Amazon and every other service provider. That was the question in every single meeting for me. And we made a conscious decision, and we decided, look, service provider business is a unique business. It has its own requirements. It has its own go-to-market specialty and focus, and obviously knowledge base and know-how. And Chris and the team who built basically ScaleMatrix, who's been in this business for a long time, by the way, these folks been doing this for a long time. When we met with them and other partners and customers of Nexenta, we realized almost half of our business, actually slightly less than half, almost 35–40% of our business is in service provider business, and we realized service providers are our biggest partners in the market. We actually deliver our consumer customers and small medium business customers needs in the data center through service provider services rather than competing with them. So unlike many other vendors in tech industry, and Al can vouch for this, we are one of the unique companies as a software-only company, as Nexenta, do not actually have a service provider business. We actually partner with service providers, and we let them deliver the services to our customers with the right SLAs, know-how, experience, and obviously focus and passion. So Chris is one of those companies, and he mentioned this tiny bit, but segueing to Ganesh and Dell, ScaleMatrix used to be the Dell's cloud business, and they took over that business from Dell because Dell and Nexenta have very parallel, very similar ideas around the business, around the enterprise market, and around service provider market. We decided as two companies, making sure we deliver the best IP, best software and hardware combination for our customers, for them to build the right service solution for the customers in mid-market, small, medium businesses, as well as consumers, so they do not have to build data centers, and they deliver the services through service providers like ScaleMatrix. So on that note, we're happy to say service providers are not necessarily a competition to tech industry to us. On the contrary, they're our best channel, best partner, and best customer, delivering amazing solutions to customers themselves as customers are moving to hosting solutions in many geographies and market segments. So on that note, this is a nice segue to Ganesh Padmanabhan. Again, he runs all the enterprise solutions for Dell EMC business as the deal closed with EMC, and he basically brings all these products from a software-defined perspective and hardware, combines them into enterprise solutions, meaningful, being consumed by enterprise customers and service providers like ScaleMatrix. So, Ganesh, no further ado, the virtual microphone is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much, Tarkan, and it's exciting being here, and it was great listening to Chris and Al on some of those fascinating dynamics that we're seeing in the industry. You know, for personally coming off of week one of our Dell EMC combination and of the new Dell Technologies franchise, you know, we now have 140,000 employees around the world, $75 billion in revenue, and the opportunity in front of us with, you know, ahead of us for all our customers, all our partner ecosystem, and the entire technology industry is so bright that we all are going to need shades in the future, you know. So with that, you know, I want to share a few thoughts of my own around how we're thinking about the changing data center ecosystem, the service providers, software-defined storage, and the software-defined data center technology and the enablers that drive that. So, I mean, we hear about this all the time now, right? So because technology ecosystem is now one of the most important enabler for innovation and across the industry. Any company, any size, be it service providers, enterprise, large enterprise, mid-size, SMB, technology becomes an essential enabler for driving innovation. And if you don't innovate, you die. 75% of the Fortune 500 companies in the next 10 years will not exist, you know, according to some of the studies that's being done. But so organizations in general are just going through this massive period of change, and change has always been the norm everywhere. But the biggest differentiator this time around for the change is the rate of change is extremely, extremely high. And software-defined data center, we are now, and as Andreessen says, in a software will eat the world, software is eating the world. We are truly in a software-defined era where the intersection of what we think about it from a traditional or the new IT, the intersection of those two architectural paradigms are going to create these opportunities. Let me talk about that a little bit. So, you know, today, IT in general, like be it, again, enterprises or service providers, have to support a wide variety of workloads in our environment. And if you take an example for what the biggest mandate that IT has gotten in the last 3 to 4 years is, honestly, it's about building consumer-grade applications. You know, the attention span of a human being is now 8 seconds, is a second less than the attention span of a goldfish, for example. Right? So the whole notion of rapid mobility, Twitter being the primary mode of communication, text messaging, the whole notion of the develop consumer-grade applications to run infrastructure has led to what we call now the cloud-native application development paradigm. I'll talk a little bit more about it. And then, but if you think about the last 15 years in IT, it was all about running packaged applications on traditional environments. And then if you just look at this, I mean, the cloud-native environments are more around architecture around the construct of systems of engagement, and not so much of systems of record, which was the traditional way of looking at these things. And what this has actually done is create these two, highlighted these two core architectural paradigms. In this traditional environment on the right, you can see that it traditionally been client-server apps or scale-up apps. The infrastructure design points at that time is about making sure it's secure, it's resilient, and the processes around managing this were ITIL-based. And those what we call the traditional IT environment. And the cloud-native applications, be it pioneered by the Facebooks and the Twitters and the more Web 2.0 companies of the world, is more built around the framework of distributed scale-out apps, massive big apps built for scale, built at scale, if you will. The responsibility of resiliency of the architecture resides on the application, not so much the infrastructure. And the process for managing this is more of a DevOps-oriented IT process, or more engaging, rapid, high-velocity process, if you will. So, I mean, but the reality of, if you look at the industry today, less than 1/3 of the applications in any given enterprise runs on cloud-native kind of a framework, right? I remember the Al's chart that showed about 45%, 54%, I think, of the application today, or probably north of that, is running in a non-cloud-like environment. Running traditional environment. But then all the net new growth is going to come from this cloud-native or the new paradigm of IT. And so it's fundamentally important that when we look at technologies that at Dell Technologies or Dell EMC, when we're looking at it, and along with our partners and the ecosystem, we're looking at how do we serve the customers, be it service providers, be it hosters, be it enterprises, be it small and medium businesses, to go serve and be ready, be future ready in this environment where they have to continue to optimize for traditional applications, but also support this new paradigm of cloud native. And there's a lot of enablers that is helping us do that. From a systems design perspective, be it servers and storage, were just, there was a very clear line of demarcation across the two. And then now with the advent of technologies, be it, virtualization started it, be it the Moore's Law, the kind of processing power that you get, the lowering of the cost of compute, if you will, the high-speed Ethernet frameworks coming into play, and most importantly, I think the topic of the hour here, right? Software-defined storage, our ability to actually go and extend and build this architecture to have a common building block-like architecture that starts small and can scale out and scale up as we want, is fundamentally changing the paradigm for us, right? So it's incredible times in the industry, and I think from a service provider's perspective, it's a time of challenges, but also a great opportunity, right? All these new architectures, all the new technologies that we just talked about, and the whole team was talking about, it's important that service providers adopt these, and be it software-defined data center, be it DevOps IT processes, be it the ability to actually help their end customers modernize their existing applications, or even transition from this old style of IT to a more future-ready IT that supports both cloud native as well as the traditional application environments. The whole notion of new business models, I mean, utility-based computing is making a huge comeback, and that's the number one thing that we all hear about. How do you make sure, from a financial perspective, for service providers and hosters, we get into a model where we can enable, they can pass on the benefits of pay-as-you-grow to their end customers, and they can also do it themselves for a much more robust business model in the new world. And then lastly, the competition is going to come from different areas, but that's also the opportunity for service providers to go in and drive more verticalization, more focus on, we're seeing all this, yes, there are the big, the Azures and the AWS of the world who are, who's have a pretty broad IaaS marketplace, but we are seeing a lot of, regionalized service providers, a lot of local, in-country kind of environments who are providing very differentiated services against an AWS, for example, or even for that matter, Azure, for example, with very fine-tuned capabilities that their customers, their local customers love, and it's just an incredible opportunity in front of all of us. And with the newly formed Dell Technologies powerhouse, I think we're one of our core principles in this whole spectrum is about providing an end-to-end capability. I mean, we're number one in 21 of Gartner's Magic Quadrants, for example. So having that unmatched capability across the entire ecosystem, across the entire spectrum, and supporting the spectrum of what we call build versus buy. If you're a service provider, you want to build your own environment and fine-tune it, and that's your infrastructure, core IP that you want to build your cloud service on. And we can help you support it with the right enabler technologies to all the way to service, completely, shrink-wrapped solutions, if you will, that if you want to have a cloud environment up and running for IaaS, or even a cloud-native platform with Pivotal Cloud Foundry, for example, have it up and running in a matter of weeks or months, we can make that happen with a completely shrink-wrapped solution. So we call that the build-to-buy continuum. But end of the day, I think the customer choice for us is key, and we want to ensure that it's not just about Dell and Dell Technologies. It's about the customer. It's about our partner ecosystem. It's about making sure that we bring the right technologies to the foray to help advance human progress, if you will. So with that, Tarkan, we only have a few more minutes, so I want to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ganesh. This is super helpful, and obviously we want to thank you as you're going through this major transition, changing the landscape of the IT industry. How Michael and the team and you guys basically transformed the industry, creating so much disruption via Dell Technologies, and obviously Dell EMC being a big portion of that. And obviously public disclosure, full disclosure is public information. Dell Technologies is a big investor of Nexenta, which we appreciate, and we go to market together. And a little bit more disclosure. Almost 1/3 of our business has been on Dell platforms, Dell JBots, Flash, Dell servers. Now working with also the EMC team, delivering software-defined storage portfolio for both cloud-native and traditional enterprise applications. And our vision is 100% aligned. We see the market with around the workloads which are basically ranging from all the way, traditional scale-up applications and workloads with block file object interfaces, but they are more traditional, higher performance, specifically optimized for certain applications around virtualization, client-server applications of the traditional ERP and database applications, from tier 1 ranging to tier 2, tier 3 apps, and backup and recovery capabilities as well. Then on the scale-out distributed apps for cloud native, delivering scale-out object block file capabilities, again, hugely important, strong deduplication capabilities, compression capabilities, and high availability capabilities for web-oriented cloud native workloads, which is critical for cloud service providers for so many different ways. In the industry, you will find a lot of appliance vendors doing one or more, but you're going to find very few vendors and partnerships like Dell and Nexenta with companies like ScaleMatrix delivering end-to-end and any vision. What we call is any workload on any cloud platform, from public, private to hybrid, for any type of app on any cloud platform, from VMware to OpenStack, from Citrix to Microsoft, from obviously from containers like Docker to Kubernetes to CoreOS to Mesosphere, delivering basically applications on any platform via any protocol, scale out or scale up, from block to file to object, and obviously delivering on any infrastructure. And that's the key piece. Dell invested in Nexenta and became partners with us for a long time. Basically on the notion that our software, Nexenta software, is run also on any other x86 server. From HP to Cisco to Lenovo to Supermicro, we did not discriminate. We were an equal opportunity server partner. And on any disk or flash, from Samsung to Intel, from SK Hynix to Toshiba to Seagate to Western Digital to HGST or SanDisk, we truly do not care what the underlying media is, whether that's a solid-state media or a spinning media, delivering a complete software-defined architectural design based on pure software. For those folks who are not still clear, Nexenta is a pure software company, but one key thing different. We do software-defined storage in a sexy open source way, meaning you do not need to necessarily tie yourself into a specific protocol or architectural design. Nexenta takes advantage of the open source communities of the past 10 years and brings an open way to deliver software-defined storage technologies while still selling and licensing its own proprietary software. It's basically an oxymoron in a sense. We have a big interest and management capability and orchestration capability for open source communities around the world, but at the same time, we work with our own proprietary software development organization to deliver best enterprise-class software-defined storage IP, whether that's block, file, object storage, we do not care. So Nexenta is basically moving very fast in the space, delivering partnerships like Dell, delivering an end-to-end solution from, for cloud-native apps as well as for enterprise apps, traditional apps like ERP, like database applications, like virtualization applications, but at the same time delivering also cloud-native capabilities around big data, IoT, and other workloads that are web-oriented, architecture-driven service providers care about. As you heard from Chris earlier and Al, both from 451 and Scale Matrix, the game is changing for hosting service companies. They're trying to differentiate themselves by delivering different interfaces to their customers, whether that's tier 1 applications with very high capacity and high performance, also very large capacity but low performance and long-term and very low cost, cents on gigabytes for long cold archive type of applications, and they want to make sure they can adjust their cost schedule. I know in the IT industry we get sometimes geeky and worry more about protocols and standards themselves rather than caring about the business needs. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about service providers, and this is the event in association with the hosting day of 451 Research in Las Vegas taking place in Bellagio Hotel today as we speak. That's why this session is running with 451 Research and our dear friend Chris Orlando, co-founder of Scale Matrix, as a Dell and Nexenta partner. We are delivering them end-to-end solutions for different workloads, different applications that they're trying to deliver value to their customers, enterprise customers and consumer customers. They care about different workloads and different apps in a SLA environment, which is defining the cost structures in a way never seen before. And with the new technologies around obviously a standardized architecture, commodity hardware, now the game is all software defined, as we heard from my dear friend Ganesh, who is driving all the enterprise solutions for Dell EMC around software defined data center. So having said all this, we allotted about had some slides as well, but I'm going to pass those slides as we took more time with our customers and partners here on this webinar. Just wanted to share with you, you have a Twitter account, my Twitter account here on the slide as you've seen, at Nexenta handle, obviously at Nexenta address on Twitter. Any question goes. So what I'm going to do is at this stage is maybe just let Allison to read a couple of questions for us so we can close this webinar within the timeline that we promised you all. We start on time, we end on time, that's our promise. Sometimes we don't meet that promise, but that's our goal. So Allison, any questions or comments from the folks on Twitter or direct line to you?
Sure, we will. I have a question that I'll ask, and then we'll answer any other questions offline. So a question came in asking, this is for Chris, what is Scale Matrix doing for encryption at rest on Nexenta?
So obviously that's an important part of our strategy. We've got a number of customers, as we shared on our slide, with customers that span, life science, genomic research, and now we're trending into both public and private sector stuff supporting government ops. Encryption is a really big part of our go-forward strategy, and obviously that's something that's clearly a piece of our Nexenta offering.
Great. Do you want me to ask one more?
Allison, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Can you go to my last slide? I'm just getting a text from one of my Wipro friends who's upset that I didn't show their slides. Can you go to the Wipro slide for a second? Actually, this is a slide from Wipro. Wipro is, as you all know, the Bangalore-based global service provider. It's also a very cool partner of Dell and us. And actually, Wipro is not in service provider business, but they deliver services to a service provider. This slide is actually a slide from Wipro's CEO, our dear friend TK Kurian and Abit. Actually, they share this slide to their customers and investors. It's available on publicly on Google if you want to search Wipro and software-defined storage and Nexenta. This is their new global open source-based software-defined data center architecture. This is real. This is happening today. They have petabytes and petabytes running on these systems, and then Wipro delivers services and solutions to their Fortune 1000 type of customers. Actually, this is the data center infrastructure that is completely software-defined. They use and deliver the services in a very low cost and reliable way with all those security aspects that Chris also mentioned. And actually, what they've done is traditionally with Dell, they moved to complete Dell servers, and they use also some other servers, but mainly Dell, with Nexenta software on top, and delivered a complete software-defined storage vision within the software-defined data center, as we focus on storage because it's 60 to 70% of data center cost is all related to storage in some shape or form. This is their data. I know it looks like a Dell Nexenta slide, and actually this is a complete Wipro slide. We did not have any content here ourselves. And basically what they're saying is they cut their costs 60 to 80%. And guys, let's be open and honest here. Wipro is one of those BPOs and service providers like ScaleMatrix. They are absolutely hawks on cost, infrastructure cost, whether that cooling water or electricity or infrastructure. They make their vendors work very hard, and they make sure their infrastructure is so low cost so they can give that profitability back to their customers, which is the right way to be. Just like Chris does with ScaleMatrix, and so Wipro is not necessarily a service provider per se, but their business process reengineering requires SLAs for them to give to their customers availability, reliability, security, manageability, and scale at very large scale, at information depth scale, depth-oriented level. And within that context, they focus on infrastructure which is commoditized and standardized with software-defined, and they are reaching cost advantage 60 to 80% against their legacy hardware-based storage systems. And they're using this not only for few workloads like Ganesh talked about. This is their traditional applications as well as cloud-native applications, home directories, file shares, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, data archive, cold archive, all the mail storage, and most importantly, with my dear friends at Dell, they delivered with VMware a 500,000 unit desktop-oriented, desktop virtualization, desktop virtualized, VDI-oriented cloud client computing platform to support their banking customers, so they can move from the traditional PC to a thin client-oriented virtual desktop infrastructure. And guess what? All those little storage pieces in each PCs move into data center as delivered as a cloud service using software-defined architecture from Dell hardware, Dell servers, a lot of VMware underneath as part of Dell technology. I guess Ganesh is a perfect example of what the overall merger means, and as well as partners like Nexenta delivering software-defined storage on that Dell infrastructure. And guess what? We also had partners like Supermicro, Cisco, HP, and others, which proves the point. Software-defined data center is the reality of the future. Leveraging customers, give them the freedom of choice, at the same time delivers a manageable and very low-cost environment to deliver services. So, Allison, on that note, there was one more question you said. Sorry, I interrupted because I was getting this email from my friends to share the slide. They asked me to share. I didn't want to go through all the slides, but it's this one. Can you repeat the last question, Miltek?
No problem. It's another question for Chris. So, Chris, what else are you looking to do with software-defined storage and Nexenta? What are your future strategic initiatives together?
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we were early adopters of the Nexenta platform, and as our company has grown and gotten bigger over time, we're obviously reaching out geographically, or expanding our data center footprints and cloud availability zones. Nexenta Fusion offers a really great management tool and a reduction in management overhead that we have been looking forward to for a number of years. You know, as you can imagine, from a service provider or a large enterprise perspective, spanning storage deployments across data centers and across regions is obviously introduces a lot of overhead and cost. And we're looking forward to a deployment of Fusion to help us simplify and manage multiple storage deployments across enterprise and across data centers.
Allison, one data point that Chris mentioned is very important for Ganesh, myself, and obviously for Al. In software-defined world, obviously security is a hugely important piece, as the software-defined layer is the orchestration tool for end-to-end security, but not only for data at rest, also for data in the flight. So as you know, Nexenta, Dell, Skillmatrix, and many of our partners are working on specific solutions. We have partnerships with companies, security companies, like with Dell, with Gemalto, to deliver encryption capabilities. We are a company who believe in true partnerships, meaning that we do focus on software-defined storage, whereas on networking, security, analytics, we partner with partners like Gemalto, like Dell, like Skillmatrix to deliver end-to-end security, both at the infrastructure level, orchestration level, as well as on the application level. So we want to make sure security is not just a one vendor issue. It's a bigger issue with all the cybercrime that Skillmatrix talked about, also Ganesh talked about, especially with the cloud-native applications to deliver an end-to-end security capability for the customers to control their most important asset, which is their data. Again, not only a single layer in a disk or in a flash, but also in data flight throughout the layers of the infrastructure, from apps to security to networking to servers and storage, all in one. That is the reason we have an open infrastructure that you can use the right APIs and connect those security frameworks to each other throughout the vertical layers of the infrastructure. That's a key thing of our go-to-market plan, in addition to the analytics and predictive modeling that we provided through Fusion, as Chris talked about earlier. Any other final questions or comments, Allison, from the audience?
We have a couple, but we will respond to them directly. Okay,
so on that note, just obviously this is recorded, and we don't do this every day. It's much more efficient, obviously, to do these webinars rather than in physical events. We get amazing feedback. I'm seeing there are more than 200 attendance on this, 200 locations. Sometimes there are multiple people. We really appreciate the folks being part of today. And again, Al, thank you all the way live from Las Vegas at the Hosting Cloud Transformation Summit in Las Vegas with 451, one of my most favorite events. I'm sure Ricardo Antuna, our VP Corp Dev, is also with you, and with John Abbott and Simon and the rest of the team. Chris, I know you were there. Also, good luck to you at the event. Thank you for being part of it. I know you're meeting with your customers and also partners there. Thank you for making time. And Ganesh, you are the Marco Polo of our day. You are traveling the world. You're in the East Coast. I know you've been super busy with the Dell Technologies merger with EMC and all those solution planning and execution around software-defined data center. We really appreciate everything you're doing with Jim Gantier, yourself, your team, as well as folks like Sam Grimblatt and the rest of the team, from Brian Humphreys all the way down to the sales team, delivering solutions every day on behalf of Dell and changing the industry upside down with this amazing merger. And as a partner and investor, we really appreciate all your support. Thank you for joining us today as well. So any questions, comments, you have the, obviously you can find us on LinkedIn, you can find us on Twitter. Do not be a stranger. Reach out to us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next webinar coming up soon. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Allison, Christina, and the team at GoToWebinar. Really appreciate all the work today.